Started some succession planting for the later season of summer, moving into fall. This area is all going to be beans. That area in the little corner is all spinach. These are obviously going to be melons, and then across the outsides I have squash, which I had to restart quite late because the slugs took a bunch out. I'm hoping that they will make it to be able to fruit before my first frost. Over here, I did end up taking out the grape on the end. These are all doing pretty well. That one is a little bit wimpy. This one was just staying a stick. Nothing ever happened. I think it had died. I probably kept it from being in the ground a little too long. It's my bad. So basically, this little square here, I'm just going to use this season since it's available anyway. The other spots I'm going to be filling up are this spot, which is bigger than it looks from this angle, some spots back there, and I'm going to be planting some carrots here. I barely had any carrots germinate and come up. I think that they actually did germinate while I was gone, and that what happened is the slugs ate them all. There are a few carrot tops popping up over there where I had planted a bunch all in one area, but I mean, we're talking like 5 to 7. There's not even a patch. So these are the carrots I was able to get this late in the season. A lot of carrots were sold out. So I'm starting completely over, and I'm just hoping to get some carrots in. They're great for storing, and I'm just looking forward to having some. A lot of these can grow into a bit of the fall season, and it'll be okay if they get pushed into a little bit of frost. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these planted, and we're just gonna hope for the best. One of the biggest things to get carrots to germinate is to keep the soil really moist. So I have gone ahead and really doused this. I have some weed tea mixed in just so that there's some extra nutrients for these. And this is gonna be where I put my purple dragon carrots. The other thing about carrots is that you really just sprinkle them over the top. Just like that. Then I'm just gonna water them in. I really don't want to bury them because they won't be able to germinate if they're too deep in the ground. I'm just getting them soaked into the ground enough so that they won't get eaten, basically.
I think it's gonna taste fantastic. Yes. What is that? Concrete food?
So just had a pretty horrific wildlife experience. I'm sensitive, I know that about myself. So I had to go into town for a few things, and on my way back up to the property, there were thousands of little baby toadlets in the road getting smashed. So I did a thing. So this is nothing in comparison to how many there are down there. I know this is a lot. There are probably hundreds, if not thousands, down there, and they're just getting crushed by the dozens and hundreds. This one, for example, I was too late for. I think when I picked him up, he'd already been smashed a little. But all these other guys, I just took them off, plucked them up off the road, because A, I didn't want to hit them, and B, I don't want them to get hit by anyone else. So if I just left them there, they'd run back out into the road. So I've brought them up here. If you've got comments about nature taking its course, you can shove it, because highways and cars and human beings do not abide by the laws of nature. So I'm not going to leave these guys to die by have a bunch of sage here that I'm going to make some bundles out of for smoke cleansing. Please note that smudging is a spiritual activity reserved for indigenous peoples. I think there is a lot of misunderstanding that if you just light something on fire and move it around your house, you're smudging, but you are in fact not. That being said, I think there's some benefit to smoke cleansing, whether you are doing it in a spiritual way, or I should say a traditionally spiritual way, or whether you are doing it kind of as your own practice. Because of that, I do like to smoke cleanse. I also think that just the smell of the herbs is nice for keeping away pests and things like that are, you know, more of a tangible, earthly plane sort of experience. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I create my own smoke sticks. I would begin by picking a nice big bunch like this. I also should say this is a mix of purple sage, garden sage, and white sage, all of which are growing right out there in my garden. This is all homegrown. And then I like to alternate which side the leaves are on so that they have a nice equal burn. So I would do something like that. You can also do something like this and add lavender. And then let's just go ahead and bunch up this last one, and then I'll show you how I tie them together. We'll just add a little bit here. You can also add other, like I've added lavender here. You can add sort of anything that you like the properties of. Like I was saying, a lot of herbs are really great for insect control. What you're going to experience when you have a lot of herbs in your home is that you do have less pests because they just don't like the smell of it. And that's not I can't promise that. I don't know what it's like at your house, but here, that's what I've experienced. And often, if you read about herbs in the garden and things like that, they are pest repellents. A lot of pests don't like things that have a lot of smell to them. And so you will experience sort of some pest relief when you have things like this. After we tie them, we're also going to be hanging them for several weeks to dry. You don't want to burn them when they're wet / freshly picked. These are all freshly picked just from the garden right now. So you want to wait until they're dry to actually burn them. So when it comes to wrapping, it's hard to do this with one hand, but basically you crisscross whatever you're using, and then you just do that all the way down. So I'm going to go ahead and do it, and then I'll show you the end result. All right, there you have it. So it's nice and tight and all bunched together, and then I'll hang it to dry in a nice cool spot where it's not going to be in the sun. So it will take some time to dry out, and once it's dry, then it can be used for smoke cleansing.